Here's what we have to understand in leadership and how to motivate a team. It's not always something that you can look up online and memorize all these different traits and tips, and boom, it's going to work with every team. If you do not come to terms with the fact that your employees are actual people, you're always going to lose this game. Okay, first off, you have to know your team members. Throughout my career in higher education and leadership, I found that there are so many leaders who can't even give you one fact about the members on their team. And some leaders have been working with the same team members for over 10 years, and you don't even know if these people are married. You don't know if they have kids. You don't even know anything that's going on in their personal lives. And as a leader, I'm not saying that you need to know every single thing about your employees. I don't need to know who you're dating. I don't need to know, things that are really deep rooted, unless this is something that you volunteer, right? But then that line is drawn. But sometimes there's such a disconnect between leadership and employees that the entire process starts to fall apart. Walls are put up. There's no trust. There's no boundaries in a lot of cases. And it's just a crap show, right? So you have to know the members of your team. If you get to know your team members, you're going to get to the point where if one of your team members walks through the door in the morning, based on the way they say hello, you're going to be able to go, Kat, can you come see me, please? And in their mind, they're going to be thinking, what? I came in, I thought I said hello, the same way. And you as a leader, because you know your team so well, you can pick up on their tone, even if there was a slight difference. And guess what? Your team members, they're going to appreciate that in you, because now they start to realize that it's more than just that work manager relationship, right? That you care about them genuinely. Here's the second thing. Look, your team members, they're not going to like you sometimes. And I think at times, especially new leaders, they spend a lot of time trying to get their team members to like them. And sometimes that's where it goes left too, because if you are trying to gain someone's respect by making them like you, guess what? You're not going to discipline them. When they're wrong, you're going to find excuses for why they were wrong, and you're always going to be on their side. And there's going to be times where your employees just don't like you, because there has to be a balance. I remember I had an employee one time. Her and I had developed a very great relationship, right? And I remember there was one time she was so angry and she walked out the office crying, and she's thinking that I was going to run after her and be like, oh no, come back. 5 minutes later, she made an about face and she came back, and I'm on my computer typing away. And she's like, oh, thank you. I thought you were going to come after me. And I was like, I don't babysit adults. You already knew that what you did was wrong and inappropriate. So you go ahead and cry that out. And it ended so quickly because she was like, all right, fine. That's why I love you, because she knows. She knew that it really didn't matter how much she tried to pull my strings. I am not going to favoritize you over any other member of the team, because we have a closer relationship. I've always been fair as a leader. And the thing is, sometimes you may have to reprimand some people on your team. You're going to have to discipline them, because you cannot show favorites. Now, everyone knows that as a leader, you do have a favorite on your team, right? Some of you have a couple of favorites, but it's very unprofessional to show that amongst the rest of the team, because that's the quickest way to lose everyone's respect, right? But there's going to have to be different decisions that you're going to have to make as a leader, where your team is going to despise you for a couple of days, and that's okay. They're going to get over it, because they're going to realize that the decision was made for their benefit, not for yours. Right. Another thing when it comes to leadership, I think sometimes we get so hooked up in, being politically correct and it being all about work, and I need you to be productive. But then the empathy is missing altogether. Let me tell you, some of the best leaders that I've had are the ones who were able to understand different situations that I was in that was out of my control. And then I've worked for other leaders who were like, I don't really give a damn. You could leave that at the door, but I need you to be productive. And, those were the companies that I left, because the bottom line is your employees are regular people, right? Just like you. And I think sometimes as leaders, we forget that we were also employees, right? We forget that we were subordinates at one point in time. But it's very important that you show that you care about your employees and their well-being and their family. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff going on too, but you have someone that you report to as well if you're not an entrepreneur or you're not an owner yourself, right? You have people that you have to report to, and I know that you are going to want that same type of respect and treatment if something tragic happened in your life. As leaders, you should never ever say that your employees trauma is drama. Okay, it's inappropriate, it's disrespectful. Okay, but empathy is one of those things that a lot of people take for granted, but it's one of the most critical skills as a leader, because your employees, they want to know that you care. They want to know that you see them as individuals who are valuable, who bring something more to the table than some numbers and expectations, depending on whatever company or establishment you're working for. Okay. But overall, respect. Your employees want to know that you respect them. So many times when you think about leadership and management, employees, they turn up their face like, and you know what? Can you blame them? Right? Because in a lot of different situations, the way that they've been treated, it's like the minute you hear manager or leader, is like, oh my gosh, I'd rather manage myself. Okay. Even if I don't know how to do this, I'm going to go on Google and figure out how to execute this task, because they just want to avoid those people altogether. And leadership is so fulfilling. It's a calling. Okay. And as a leader, you are actually serving your team members, which is why great leaders ask the question, how can I be of service to you? How can I help you succeed? Tell me what you need from me. That is an act of service, and that's what leadership is. So, if you have not been following these types of traits, you may have to go back and say, you know what? This is why it's been so hard for my team and I to connect. There's been walls put up all over the place, and you're trying to figure it out. You might have to revisit these 4 tips that I gave you and really check your leadership style. Okay. Anything having to do with leaders versus employees is people versus people, and people want to connect with actual people.